Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new video on Rennsport, more Rennsport drama for you all. You can see from the title of the video, gets a bit spicy later on, but before that we're going to focus on the quarterfinal here at Road Atlanta, which is the new track they've just put into the game used for the latest ESL R1 round. And yeah, quarterfinal, this is my quali lap, let's see how we get on. So first corner's a right-hander, brake down one gear, hit the apex and get on the power as soon as possible. Run as wide as you can, but not too wide, otherwise you'll be off the track. This chicane is so tricky, trying to get that curb right and not overuse it so you get a cut, and whilst keeping the minimum speed up. Going down this hill, the line's very tight through here, so you really need to make sure you nail that. This next left is probably the hardest corner on the track. As you can see, I'm struggling trying to keep up narrating this because it's just mental. The track is like a roller coaster. Elevation change, left, right, it's constantly meandering. This next right-hander leads into a 90 right, which is probably it's a very important corner because it's got such a long straight after it. You need to not scrub too much speed off on the entry, otherwise you'll lose time there, but make sure you get a killer exit, which we got a decent exit so far. A 9.70 in the first sector, a 0.58 in the second sector. Not a bad lap, it's fairly decent given the pressure of a one-shot quali. Into the final sector then, braking down to second gear, nick this little inside curb, set this right-hander up to get a really good and straight exit. We probably use a little bit too much exit curb there, it does slow you down. And then the shortest possible run to the line. And across the line it's going to be a 1 minute 17.022, which provisionally was pole position, and it maintained it. It was my first pole of this season of ESL R1, so really happy with that. Wasn't the quickest lap of the day, but it was the quickest in this split, so got a good getaway there. We've got a Mercedes, the Apex Racing Mercedes behind us there, and then we've got loads of BMWs and Audis, so happy to get pole. And it's very hard to overtake here, so we've not guaranteed ourselves a good result, but it gives us a very strong chance of being, you know, in that top 3, which is where the big points are given, and definitely being in the top 6, which is what you need to get through to the next stage, the semi-final. So opening lap, we've done okay. The guy behind is still very close. I mean, anything within 3 to 4 tenths going onto this big back straight, you're probably in trouble. You know, he's probably going to get a run on you, and you can see here he's quite close, so fair play to him. I didn't make any mistakes on the opening lap there, I just didn't nail it, and he clearly nailed it, was able to stay very close to me. You can see here he's got a mega run going into the third sector. I'm going to defend. I'm going to sort of squeeze him on the outside to just make him feel a little bit uncomfortable. We brake as late as we can, down to second. We do leave him room, just about, but then he does very well to keep his car up the inside there. No contact made, it was really hard but fair racing. And the Apex Merc there does take the lead of the race. So annoying, but we just didn't nail that opening lap well enough to get the gap we needed to stay out of the slipstream. So you can see there, I do squeeze him a little bit, but gave him just about enough room, and he does hold it around the outside. There's nothing really else I could have done. I could have probably set this right-hander up better to get a better exit, but even then we would have been side by side. He would have had the inside for the final corner, and overall, yeah, I think that move was always going to happen. I should have had a better opening lap, but even then, you know, you'll see throughout this race he does have pretty good pace, really good race pace, which bemused me. I mean, race pace is usually my strong point, but yeah, I mean, this track and just generally all season, our team has struggled for raw pace, which in a series like this is just so hard to, you know, that's probably the one thing you do need is raw pace. So you can see the Apex car starting to edge away already. He's definitely outside of the 3.5 tenth gap window, which, as you say, and you saw last lap, you need that to really get a run on him going into sector 3. So I can't repeat what he did to me here, really. I mean, I'm quite close here, but you can see the exit he gets here is just mega, and I can't really. Yeah, I'm probably about 4 or 5 tenths back now, so I'm not going to be able to make a move here. We've got Enzo in the car behind the BMW, but the BMW doesn't have the quickest straight line speed, which is good for us, and we've got a tow in front of us that's keeping us just ahead of Enzo. So yeah, now I'm pretty comfortable. I mean, I knew the Apex guys at this particular track, they had a lot of pace. You could see that from the quali times that Johan's teammates were doing, and I knew it was going to be tricky to keep him behind. I think he probably made more mistakes than me on his quali lap, because I think generally speaking they had a bit more pace. So I was quite happy to sit behind him, try and see if I could keep with him till the end of the race. Hopefully my tyres would stay cooler than his, because weirdly in this game, if you're in the slipstream of someone, and in the dirty air actually of someone, your tyres stay cooler than if you're out front on your own, which that's quite weird. I mean, generally speaking, in real life, that it would be the opposite. Dirty air does kill tyres, but in this game, it doesn't really seem to do that. And you can see we've skipped now to lap 12, the final lap, and the gap is enormous, to be fair. I mean, it's over a second, 1.3 seconds. And he just kept on edging that out every single lap, you know, a tenth every lap pretty much. And yeah, just... Again, I'm happy with the result that we're going to pick up here. We've got a gap behind to the BMW. We're going to get second, and that's big for me. Like, in terms of my point situation, I was on the cusp of 24th, which is where you need to be to get to the final LAN, which is in a couple of weeks' time as of this video. And yeah, I needed the result, but just to get dropped by someone in the same car as you, in a series where it's fixed setup, you know, the cars are the same. It's very confusing, and yeah, I never really aim to go into a series looking to be, as I say, dropped by someone in the same car with the same setup. But that is the situation for this round, and yeah, I guess we have to go away and figure out why that is and why we were so slow. But nevertheless, crossing the line in a minute, P2, big points, and we advanced through to the semi-final, which was the day after. So this was last Thursday. The semi-final is on the Friday. And you can see there I was pretty sweaty. I was working my arse off there, but you can see a second and 1.2 seconds off the win. So on to then the semi-final. You can see there I'm looking a bit fresher. I was looking a bit knackered actually at the end of that quarter-final, pushing my absolute bollocks off. Anyway, into qualifying, and you can see there ploughing down towards turn 1, use a little bit of gravel just to open up the corner a bit. Down one gear, as I say. Turn 1, pretty nice. We're probably a bit more committed there than the previous lap, but we do exactly the same sector time there, 6.70, which, yeah, very strange that it's exactly the same as the first lap we did. Chicane looked pretty nailed there. Probably turned in a little bit early, scrubbed a tiny bit of speed going down this downhill section, down a gear for this left, take the inside curve, run all the way out, all the way to those cones. You know, looks insane the amount of track limit you're sort of using here, but it's the only way to be fast, and it's very risky as well. I mean, if you get it wrong, you can get a slowdown penalty, which completely ruins your qualifying. This 90 right again, bit of a moment there on the exit. So up until the double right-hander we've just gone through there, the lap for me was really good. But you can see, I think all those moments in that right-hander probably cost me a tenth. And these are micro mistakes, but as I've already said with this series before, any sort of mistake, and it really punishes you because everyone's just so on it. Into the third sector then, you can see here, that was pretty nice. We don't use as much exit curb here, which is good. And going down towards the final corner then, a clean lap again, not breathtaking, but it was solid. Really quick final sector, or a decent final sector, 17.031, so very similar to the quarter-final quali lap we did, just 9 thousandths slower, and that does put us in 4th. So in the top 6, and as it stands, we would be going through to the final. We've got an Audi, an Apex Merc in front of us, and a BMW as well. So yeah, it's going to be tough to overtake, but it is possible. You hope for people to make mistakes in front, but at this stage of the race, it's all about tucking in and making sure you don't get done from the guy behind. Hey yo! Just settle into the race, and it's probably the hardest track we've done to find a rhythm or to settle into a race and be comfortable, because as you can see, it's just like there's not much runoff. There's grass and that's it. So if you go off, you're off for good. You're in the barrier. But at the same time, it's fairly narrow at points as well. The elevation change makes it really tricky to see corners, so you can't be consistent easily. So the amount of practice we all did for this round was insane, because it was a new track. It's a hard track, and yeah, there was a serious grind just to build up the muscle memory and put yourself in the strongest position possible. So yeah, opening lap, we've got the BMW behind, but I don't think they're going to go for a move. He's not quite close enough, as I say. That BMW does struggle on the straights, but the guys in front are starting to gap very slowly, so I need to sort of grit my teeth here and try and stay with them. If you can stay in the tow, it does make it that little bit easier, but as I say, race pace or raw pace, we were definitely struggling. So I was happy to be up there again, you know, in the top 6, given that, you know, if I compared my PB lap time to a lot of other people, it was a lot slower. So that's a sign basically that your raw pace is not very good. So I was just damage limitation, really, just getting as many points as possible to to basically get myself well into the top 24. So going into this round I was 23rd, but I wanted to get myself well into the top 24 ahead of the final round, which as of making this video is this week, and then I can pretty much guarantee myself a spot in Sweden. And yeah, when you get to Sweden, the points reset, and it's I'll bring myself closer to the leader in the championship. There's like a soft reset, so yeah, when you get to the LAN, basically anything's possible. But right now I'm a mile off the leader, you know, hundreds of points. So it's a very strange series in the way the format is, but when you do get your head around it, it is kind of cool. And yeah, the story of this race really is what you're seeing right now. I mean, the top three in the first couple of laps really took off, but we do rein them in, and we do manage to keep Isaac behind. So let's skip to the end. Okay, so just coming onto the back straight, final lap, lap 12 of 12. The gap behind to the BMW is fairly big now. He's out of the tow, which is good. And we're fairly close to the guys in front, so I was hoping for some sort of mistake, even a battle between one of these cars, you know, or two of these cars. Just maybe I could pounce on that, but there was nothing. It was a bit of a procession, really, the whole race. Everyone had some decent pace. I'd say actually the race pace in this one was a lot slower than the one before. So yeah, a shame we couldn't really make anything happen, but still, fourth is good. Through to the final, big points again, and this is exactly what I needed for the championship. So yeah, you can see there, in the end we were just over a second off the win, so fairly close. And yeah, into the final. So quali for the final, let's see how we get on. So I was one of the last cars to cross the line. I knew there was quite a few slowdowns already in terms of people cutting the track with track limits and yeah, getting a slowdown penalty, which yeah, slows you down for a couple of seconds, and that's basically a quali over. So you do have to be really careful. You have to really push and send it, but at the same time you have to be careful for track limits. You can see there, exit at turn 1. We have a good sector time, but we really compromised the exit up the hill, and then turn 2, we missed the curb on the inside completely. So if you compare that to the other laps we've done on this video so far, very scrappy, very messy. But this left-hander, we rotate it nicely, we go very wide, just about get away with it on the track limits. And but yeah, I think the first couple of corners would have cost us really to set a lap time good enough for the front row or something like that. So it's damage limitation now, and the two right-handers there were fairly decent. But yeah, I think we've probably lost a tenth and a half in turns 1 and 2 alone. So you can see there, the middle sector, 40.149. Yeah, that's a tenth and a half off really where we should have been, and it was all from turn 2. Going into sector 3, trying to brake as late as possible, rotate the car on the brakes, and then you balance it, power sliding it and balancing it on the throttle. Tightest line through here, and then going into the final corner, we just about avoid the grass. We do actually end up on it a little bit, but across the line 17.107. So in terms of damage limitation, after that horrendous start to the lap, it was okay, but it was still 8th on the grid. So yeah, not at the back, but definitely a scrappy lap that annoyingly we should have done better there, but it is what it is. Get a decent start behind the BMW, properly in the mid-pack now, which we haven't been really sort of all weekend, which is the worst place to be, because you can very easily get caught up in some sort of incident, and they do happen in this series quite often. Got the Audi behind us very close, so we do it because it's so hard when you're in a train to see the track in front here at this track because of the elevation. You're guessing where the track is, so there I didn't want to take too much curb and go on the grass and then go off, so I was too conservative, and you can see I lost quite a lot of momentum to the BMW in front. So yeah, I'm close, but I'm not close enough, or close as I'd like to be, to make a move. But he's in the tow anyway, so when you get this sort of train effect, it's like a DRS train in F1. It's very hard to make a move, but still solid. We're 8th. You know, in the final you get more points than you do in the semi-final and the quarter-final, so even if I finish 8th, it's still valuable points for me in that championship standing. And it's a long race. I mean, 12 laps is a long race. In this series, it's a long race. You know, usually the race distances are like 7, 8, 9 laps. And as we're approaching turn 1, you can see at the top of the screen here, right? And this is what came up on my screen in the race as well. Give up 3 positions is pending to be served. So I've got a penalty that's telling me give up 3 car positions behind, right? And this is what it was for. So, this is my quali lap. Braking on the curb, taking the apex on the left, running out wide, and you can see there on the limit of track limits, but the game didn't detect the track limit cut, so it didn't give us a slowdown. This is another person in the final, Josh Rogers in the Porsche. You can see there he took the gravel on the entry and ran equally as wide, and he got a slowdown. Look at his speedo, it went down, so he got a slowdown penalty. This is Seb Job in the final as well in the BMW. Same sort of thing, ran on the gravel before the entry of the corner, carried a lot of speed in, got a slowdown. Enzo, another BMW in the final, doesn't use the gravel on the entry, carries less speed through the corner, runs maybe less wide than all of us, but gets away with it, doesn't get a slowdown. So he wasn't as on the limit as me, but I was on the limit. But as I say, I did not use the gravel on the entry, therefore I didn't carry as much speed through the corner, and I went wide. Everyone goes wide there, but I went wide. I was probably on the limit, but the stewards got a protest apparently, and they looked it back, and they deemed it as I exploited the track limits, got away with it without getting a slowdown, and then they've manually given me a 3-position penalty, and you can see at the top there, it just went up to 4 positions. So they've effectively taken a lap and a half to give me a penalty that's telling me to drop back to the back of the field for I don't even know what it was for. I mean, apparently that's what it was for. You know, I've exploited the track limits in qualifying, but you could clearly see that I was just as on the limit as everybody else. I didn't use the gravel on the entry, and I'm still confused to this day, and it's almost a week later. Like, I want to know what you lot think. Please get down in the comments below and let me know what you think. But I still think this is absolute nonsense that I've been given a penalty for that. And the way it's been given as well, they've waited a couple of laps to give me a penalty that completely ruins the race. As we know in this series, you can't really overtake, and it just effectively guarantees myself finishing last. And I know I'm only 8th, but still, it's the principle of it. You know, what if I'd managed to put it on the front row? Would I have got the same penalty? That would have been even more ludicrous. So if you've been keeping an eye on the webcam to the bottom right, you can see that I'm pretty angry, to be honest, raging in the moment, saying some not very nice things. But I was pissed. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. Whoever protested it, I mean, you know, for one, that's just ridiculous. But secondly, to look at the protest and then give the penalty that they've given, just to me is nonsense. And yes, you can say I maybe got away with exploiting the track limits, but there is a track limit system in the game, and that's what we're playing to. And yeah, it gets me with the blood boiling just talking about it. But I think I've tried to explain the penalty as best I can. Again, now you can see I'm raging, but yeah, I did try to get my head down and try and go for a move and try and get back in the race somehow. But you can see about 4 or 5 cars ahead. It's just starting to kick off now as well, which would have been, I was perfectly sat there to try and gain a couple of positions with all this fighting going on. But you know, sod's law, as soon as that starts happening, just before that, I have to give up all those places. And yeah, I did try and hang on to it for a couple of laps, just maybe the penalty was given by mistake and it would be rescinded. But once my engineers told me what the penalty was for, they said, look, you're going to have to accept this. If you don't give the positions up in the next 2 laps, you're going to get a drive-through. So just give them up now and try and work your way back into the race. So that's what I did on the previous lap. And yeah, there we go. Still angry. I mean, it's not the way to be. Obviously, you know, you're in the race. Being angry does not help anyone, and it definitely doesn't help yourself. But yeah, I do get my head down in a minute. I stop raging. In fact, I think the engineer actually said, look, mate, just chill out. We'll talk about it after. Just focus on the race. And that's what I did. And there's a couple of battles, you'll see. We'll skip to them, and let's see how we get on in those. So we've skipped to lap 7 then. I'm behind the BMW, the GT car in front of us, quite close to him as well. He's a little bit away from the Porsche in 10th, so we do have an opportunity here to get a good slipstream, a good run. The BMW does struggle for top end. He's going to defend, going down this downhill section, sector 3. We're going down the outside, looking to brake really late, try and hold around the outside. That little bit of contact there just stopped my braking, and I had to take to the grass and avoid crashing into him. So couldn't quite get the move done there, and we'll look at it in chase cam. So perfectly okay at this point, defends. I'm going down the outside, looking to brake super late, and just that little bit of contact there, I think it was a combination of me moving left and him moving right. Just, yeah, stopped me in my tracks. Annoying, really. Maybe if I held my line fully straight and then just swept in and turned in on him, you know, because I was fully alongside, that might have worked. I mean, that would be also very aggressive and borderline dirty, but that is typically what people do in this series is, you know, if you're on the outside, just turn in on the person on the inside, and if you get the move done, then fair play to you. That's sort of the ethos. So, yeah, not really the way I've typically gone racing in the past, but it is what it is. Like, you have to really up your aggression levels, I think, in this series to get anywhere. I mean, if you're too polite and too kind, which typically from endurance races or endurance series I've done in the past, you usually are quite polite, just so you don't get involved in incidents. But in this series, there's no damage and there's sprint races. Yeah, that racing style or approach doesn't work. You need to be just super aggressive, like be the offender, be the one on the offence. And annoyingly, you can see in front, the Porsche got a penalty to let the BMW through from a previous move. So if we did get the move done on the BMW last lap, we would have jumped the Porsche as well. So we would have been P10. So extra salt in the wounds there. And you can see from my very stern look, I am not overly pleased. But to be fair, that previous move with the BMW, I don't think that was a penalty. I think that was fine on all accounts. I think it was just hard but fair. And to be fair, that is sort of it. So let's skip to the end of the race. So just approaching the final chicane on the final lap, we're about 5 tenths behind the Porsche. Not going to get anything done now. The field's quite spread out. There's a couple of battles going on, but nothing that's going to really get us in the mix. And we do finish the final in last place. Woohoo. But yeah, not ideal. You can see there from this little pirouette I do here that I'm not too happy, but that's the way it goes sometimes. P12, we still get 5 points, I think, for P12, so it's better than not making the final, but we should have definitely been in the mid-pack. You can see there the standings. I'm 18th in the Drivers' Championship now, well inside the top 24. In fact, I'd guaranteed myself a spot in Sweden at the LAN from this result, so I was really happy with that. In the Teams' Championship, we're not doing too well at all. We are very far down the order. It's not been a great season for us all. You know, the fact I'm the leading car from our team in 18th kind of shows you how bad of a season we've had. But yeah, Bono's still got a chance to make the top 24 as well, so fingers crossed there'll be 2 of us at the LAN. And when you're at the LAN, as I said earlier, the points reset, so you do have a chance to get a really good result if all goes well. But yeah, just to end the video then, the point of the video, or the main thing from the video, was that penalty I received. Yes, I went wide. Everyone goes wide at that corner, but I went wide and I was on the limit. 2 cars got slowdowns, and they probably were equally as wide as me. However, the thing that I think you have to take into account here is the entry for that corner. I didn't use any grass or gravel going into the corner. If you look at the minimum speed in the left-hander, I am a couple of Ks lower than the cars that got slowdowns. So that's, I think, where the track limit system has taken it into account and not given me a penalty, because I've not carried as much speed from going off track before the corner and then through it. Yes, it's probably on the limit. I've gone very wide, but we're playing to an in-game system here. So I don't understand why I got given a ludicrous penalty that put me at the back of the grid because someone said I went wide in a protest, you know. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about it now. I'm going to leave it in this video and then never think about it again. Please let me know in the comments what you think of it, and I'll be intrigued to see what your thoughts are. I am obviously very biased because I'm the driver involved here. And generally speaking, I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up, sub to the channel, and I look forward to making a video for you lot very, very soon. So cheers for watching. See you soon. Ciao for now.